Welcome to the PPES meeting for October. First item on the agenda is 043, which is apologies for absence.
Yep, Peter Howard gave his apologies.
Okay, thank you. And then 044 is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2012 and to consider any requests for dispensations in respect of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests in agenda items. Nothing? Does Steve need to for the budget at all? Well, technically, it's only a very small element of the budget that is affected in the income.
Which one?
Which bit? Oh no, sorry. No,
You're talking about the wrong budget, aren't you?
Wrong budget. Yeah, sorry. Forget that. Item 045, to resolve to approve as a correct record of notes of the meeting of the committee held on 23rd of August 2022 and authorise the chair to sign as official minutes.
Rose?
Thank you.
Thank you. Should be some of them back, but
Okay. 046, clerk's report.
Hull Beach Bank Football Club, regarding sugar container, hedge cuttings and keeping man gate, we've received no response from the football club regarding any of them, but Councillor Good has reported we should have a key, but we've had a look and we don't have a key. Hull Beach FC, regarding electricity and water supplies, they've come back to say that the Tiger Bar has its own electricity supply, the changing rooms have their own electricity supply, the changing rooms and the clubhouse share one supply of water, and they've confirmed that they paid electricity and water for that. The defibrillator, the one that we've ordered is going to be quite a while before it actually comes here. The one that they've chosen, ongoing maintenance, sorry, can I start that again? Chosen will fund the phone box defibrillator and ongoing maintenance for as long as they are running, but the company who was going to order one from, there's going to be a lot of delay in them, so I have thanked them for that, and I've also contacted another company who has various options for that if you wanted me to send all them details out. They can get hold of ones a lot sooner, and one does include defibrillator pads and everything for a child as well, which the other one didn't, and then also a switch that you can use, so I can send them on to you. Regarding speeding, the 3 SIG mounting plates have been ordered, and the LRSP have supplied a list of possible sighting lampposts, which was on Appendix 1, if everybody saw what they were.
So we have got Holgate, Holgate Road and Church Street. And they are pretty much happy with everything. The only thing is they were concerned about one in Fire Street, weren't they?
Yeah, and so Peter was going to have a look for another one. It hasn't got any fixings or...
But the hanging basket and brackets can be taken off.
Yes, and then that can be...
That
can be used. But then the emergency planning, we've now got the times. I think you've all been notified that's from 2 to 3:30 on the 13th. And we did also have the property 2 High Street to come and ask about the repair of the windows.
Yeah.
Thank you. 047, item A is to discuss and resolve to agree an additional SID location in Hallgate, Wigmallsgate, as requested by parishioner. Was talking more about Wigmallsgate, weren't they?
So I'm just trying to get it up. Let's see what
It would be good to consider both ends of that
Yeah.
road though, wouldn't
If we've already had one there, presumably we've moved the plate from there and used it elsewhere then. Because she's saying that it's already been positioned somewhere in Wigmallsgate previously.
it? So we must have a...
So there's either a plate already there, but we've obviously got an agreed place that it can go, or
I'm just trying to get
The plate's been removed.
It's not letting me open it. She said there was one already in place, and I think.
And then it was taken down,
Taken
because
down.
obviously we moved them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she probably presumed it was going to be permanent.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need, firstly, we need to go back to her and say, yes, we will be looking at doing it, but they're done on rotation, so they're not there permanently, so she understands. So if she sees another one go up, she'll probably think that she's got it there for a while.
Yeah.
And then if we can look into whether we've actually got one that's agreed down there, we must have, because
We must have one with Wigmallsgate, but do we have any more up towards Hallgate?
There was one that Peter sent a photograph of, didn't he, to, as a possibility.
There's a possibility, yeah.
Which I haven't looked to see exactly where that is, but it looks to be somewhere close to that new roundabout by looking at the house.
Yeah, I think it was.
Which, if people slow down the roundabout, I don't really see that that's going to be a suitable location.
But he's done the first one on Hallgate, and they've said that's okay, haven't they, in the locations, so we should now have one in Hallgate.
So we just need to find out where the agreed one is in Wigmallsgate. If we can find it, because we did have a whole list at one stage, didn't we? Yep. I'm not sure where it is on the system, but it's on there somewhere.
I think it's in Sweden somewhere.
And then we can look at rotating it around.
Yeah.
So we're happy that we agreed to agree that we use the existing SID location if we can identify which it is in Wigmallsgate.
Yeah.
And then the agreed one that is now in Hallgate as well.
Yep, I think we're going to propose it. Thank you.
Item B is to discuss the additional SID locations and resolve to agree the way forward following communication from LRSB, which is back to your Appendix 1, which is basically they're happy with all of them. It's only the one on the High Street that they've got
So
concerns.
didn't Peter say he did find one without
Yeah.
stuff on, so he doesn't know what they quite mean?
Well, the hanging basket brackets can be taken off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're not needed, and yes, they are to do with the Christmas lights, the other bits and pieces on there, but it shouldn't impact on the mountain plate. It's obviously they don't want too much on each individual.
But it would be very good to have one on the High Street,
Yeah.
if we could, because
So if we can just go back to them and say that, you know,
well, I think Peter was going to photograph the one that you was
the one,
intending.
right, okay, so if he can send
Yeah.
you that photograph and send
So
that
he's
through
going to have
to
another
them.
look, photograph the one he intended, because
Yeah.
the one he found didn't
Haven't
have,
got anything on it.
yeah, or a lot less stuff on it.
And if that's not suitable, then if we just say that all the hanging basket brackets are removable because they're no longer needed.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that, so that Karen can communicate that to them.
On the page.
Item 48 is properties, and item A is to receive an update on the chapels. This is to you, because you've been and had a meeting this morning.
Yeah, so we met with the conservation officer this morning. Good news. For all of the windows and the main work we want to do, and the CCTV and things like that, we will need listed building consent. He said for the windows you need a sectional drawing through, which obviously any company who's going to quote for it would be able to do. And he would happily look into and work with us with stuff to protect the outside and inside of the windows. I did discuss the idea of, replacing the boarding that we've got on some of the windows so we can get some natural light in. He didn't think there would be a problem, we would need listed building consent for that, but he would thought that what they would do is put a condition on it that it's only temporary, so it's only for a period of time, and then obviously we'd have to do work to repair them eventually. In terms of the existing planning permission and listed building consent that's in place, we would, if we were going ahead with our plans, we would need the change of use, so we would need a planning application. However, he had a discussion with his manager, and if we commence works in somewhere or another before January, and they get that signed off, then that planning permission's there indefinitely. So all of the permission that they had for the glass linkway, etc., if we ever wanted to do it, we could do that, and crucially it would have the change of use in there for us to be able to use it for community use and weddings, etc., those sort of things. So what he suggested is if we dig the footings for a parking space, because that was part of the planning permission, and as long as we did proper footings, not just with a spade, but like do it properly, for at least one parking space, photograph that, evidence it, send it off to them, then they should be able to sign that off as commencement of works. So that's pretty good. So we just need to get cracking before January if we want the permission to stay. But then that means we only need to do listed building consent for any of the other works that we would like to do.
That's good. So we need to start thinking about getting some price for doing the footings, because that's going to impact on what
It's not in your budget,
No.
but you would have to spend it in this financial year, because if not, you're going to lose that planning permission, which means you're then going to have to fork out a good amount of money for more planning permission, because it's not cheap.
What end do you going to put a parking space?
So the plan was to put it the opposite side of cremated remains. So you have a planting area, and then they have planned for 2 disabled parking bays and a turning bay, because they
Some
would.
trees down.
No, they would fit, because you haven't got any big trees that side.
It's just literally in front of the...
Cars park side.
Yeah, cars park side.
Would you get a car through the gates?
Yeah, because they take the hearses in there.
Oh.
And normally, so they were intending blocking up the bit in between where they would drive all the way through, hence why they're doing a turning bay. We're not intending doing that because it's expensive, but if we just start digging the footings for a parking space, which would actually be useful if we wanted to carry on and complete it anyway, to have some form of parking space and turning bay there. But yeah, that's all we need to do.
Yep.
So if we can investigate, get a couple of prices for that, and then we can see whether we've got what budget we've got left within properties or whatever, if need be, and see whether we can get that action before January.
I mean, we know how much it was to hire the digger from Jubilee Garden,
Yeah.
so it's just them paying labour, isn't it?
Yeah. So if we can just see if we can get something sorted fairly swiftly and get a price, and then if we can, we can then look at the budgets that we've got within properties and just see what we've got left over. I'm sure we've got enough in there somewhere to get that done, because that would be the simplest thing. If we can get that done and they sign it off, then we're nothing really, aren't we?
And the easiest thing to do is if we either tape it off, we have got some of that fencing that we use for the slide, haven't we? Around there, you could do that, or you move the heroes fencing out a little bit, just to cordon off the trench, or just do a trench.
But the heroes will go as soon as we've
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to keep that cordoned off, but you'd be able, with the position it's in, it's not going to impact anybody, and you just take it all the way to the chapel to keep it all neat and tidy. So that should be fine.
Okay. I did contact one company, they are Peterborough based, or very close to Peterborough. They specialise in stained glass repairs and leaded light repairs. They're fairly local, so I've contacted them and asked them if they'd be interested in doing an estimate so that we can do our proper budgeting. If not, there is another one towards Nottingham Way, and I think there's another one towards Norwich, but I thought at least they're only at Deeping, so chances are they were not going to mind coming out to give a price, and I explained that we need it for budgeting purposes, so it's not going to happen straight away.
The reason Greg said we need listed building consent for the windows is because they're in such a poor state of repair. So it's the extent of works that's going to be carried out on them. If it was just a simple repair job, a lot of stuff you don't need listed building consent for because you're doing it like for like.
How much is listed building consent, do we know?
I can find out. I'm sure it is cheaper than planning permission, which is good. But he said just put it all together into one application, which again, then if you do one application and say you do the windows but you don't do another part of it for a while, or you do the CCTV first, then you've started the work, so it's indefinite now. So that's it, more beneficial, just put it all in one application, which means you only have to pay once.
Okay, good. Okay, so item B is to discuss and resolve to agree the parking issues at Coombe Chambers. So, those of you that come to the car park regularly realise that at certain times, the evening mainly, and certainly the weekends, we're getting people parking on the car park that are not actually eligible to park on the car park. So, the simplest solution I can think of, we did have bollards, you know, the ones that went up and down. But unfortunately, somebody decided that it would be a very nice idea to put glue in the locks, so they had to be removed. So the simplest thing is to just put some chain across, and then as people come in, we can put one of the combination locks on, can't we? Because then we can change the combination as often as we need to. Put the combination lock on, and then only those that have got the combination will be able to get onto the car park out of hours. That's the simplest thing.
Would you put in?
You would only just go from one side to the other.
The only thing is that sometimes somebody pulls up over there when we're here, which blocks the space for upstairs.
So they pull across the front, you mean?
No, they go into the space.
There's space.
Yeah, well, you go all the way across. So you'd have a chain come from one side to the other. They won't be able to get in once the chain's up.
But it's when we're here.
Or when you're here, when you put the chain back across, sorry.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So
That's
whenever
what you-
if you're
I
here,
didn't think of that.
You
so
put
when
the chain
anybody
across.
arrives, they're going to have to,
Yeah, I mean,
undo the
it's
chain.
a pain, but
yeah.
it is the only way of
Or you
doing
just
it.
do it in the evenings and weekends, see how it goes.
Yeah, initially, and if you
Yeah.
continue to get a problem, then you're going to have to do it in the daytime. But
Yeah, I mean, if you did it so you unlock it in the morning
Yeah.
and then you put it back across when you're finished,
Yeah.
and then we have it over the weekend, that shouldn't be much of an issue, should it?
because you've got a post side to side anyhow, so it's not a problem. So we just need the length of chain. So if we can instruct our staff at some point to go and purchase said piece of chain and some fixings, because obviously we need some fixings.
Yeah, we've got the lock.
We've got the lock, so then we can give it a go. Because it is mainly evenings and weekends, isn't it, that we have the real issue. Because you can come up here sometimes and there'll probably be 2-3 cars parked on there.
Yeah.
So we'll give it a try, see what happens.
No, very sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Straight on, okay. And then 049 is budgets for 23-24. So you've got a nice little sheet. These we did discuss at finance and went through, and so we just need to go through it again and just make sure we're happy with those. So John, do you want to go through it with us then?
Yeah.
The easiest way.
So we took out emergency planning fund because basically there isn't any.
There's no need for it, is there?
It's all provided for us. Speeding, as you've bought the bulk of, you've got now 2 SIDs and, is it 5 mounting plates?
One of them SIDs are playing up a little bit. Didn't we tell you?
Are they? Do we have a warranty on it or anything?
It's the older one,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
the old one. We charged it. We put it up and we couldn't get it to work, so we had to take it back,
Right.
recharge it. It took us ages to eventually get it on, but it came on. But it is temperamental.
I think it needs reprogramming via the thing, but we were
Do
struggling.
we actually download the data anymore or do we?
No, we don't bother because Lincolnshire Road Safety Partnership, when we met them, said that there's no point.
I think
No point to do it.
next time we just have to try and put on charge here
Mm-hmm.
and just try them before we take them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we didn't do that last time.
No.
So how much is a replacement SID if it's...
I think it was under 2,000
Okay.
off the top of my head. Because we had the money for the last one from
Donation from
Yeah.
district.
Yeah, because that records your speed and you can download the data. Is there not a cheaper version that just
Just
literally
flashes.
flashes your speed? Because
Because
that's
we
all
don't
you
use
use
it now, do we?
No. Because if it's not actually recording anything and storing data, it's literally just sensing the speed and showing a speed on it. I would have thought that would be cheaper. So that's all you need it for.
As long as we've got one that is still working.
And a lot
if
of
the other
people
one
We
are-
used to have as a spare one, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people do want more permanent ones around town. So if you can buy like the one in Whatload, I don't know whether that actually
Don't know.
records the speed, but it just literally flashes it, but it's there all the time, isn't it? And then-
These, yeah, they do other ones where it says, I don't know, it says contact us for a quote. I don't know if you can see, but
Yeah, right.
it's all the bits are inside it, so
Okay.
which looks less bulky, but
Yeah, so we could look at maybe purchasing more of those ones to put up permanently in key areas, which can be rotated maybe less often throughout a year.
So if we reduced it down to 500 because we didn't feel that we got an awful lot of need for it. So are we happy to reduce that down, or do we want to keep it?
I think if we look into a quote for a speed sign that just flashes the speed and does nothing else, because if that's all we're using it for, there's no point paying for a really expensive one. And then see how much that is, and then if you want to up your budget to include that, then you can do. 'Cause
I'm
if the
sure
other one's
there
really
as
big-
well, if it were another replacement sign, then come after election time, I'm sure the new district councillors would be really keen to give some more of their budget. So, yeah, it'll be in that financial year, so if we needed a bit more,
Yeah.
I'm sure that it would be forthcoming.
Mhm.
So yeah, so if we leave it initially
Well,
at
I know-
500.
I mean, I don't know what's continuing to happen with the traffic restrictions that they were thinking of putting through the key areas in the high street, etc. But if they were looking at doing traffic, reducing the speed of traffic, etc., to 20 miles an hour, it would be useful to have one of those flashing signs saying what speed you're doing on your key roads into town, wouldn't it? So that might be something that you could get money from LCC for. So.
Okay, so we're happy to leave that at 500 currently.
Yeah.
so professional fees. So to recap, the 8,000 from this year's budget was primarily for property valuations, registering properties and asbestos surveys. We haven't paid, although we've had the properties valued, we haven't yet paid for them. So any residual from that are left at the end of the year will go into next year's earmark reserve.
Stop. And so you go and see who it is, Karen.
Yeah.
Hello?
Do we need to stop or carry on?
Hello?
Carry on, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Just in the side group.
So we only put in 1,000 for professional fees for next year. The next one, the 7.5, is a confidential one. Property rents, income, so I actually went through and worked out the exact rental income for each site, so there should be correct. Repairs and maintenance, we split the budget evenly between each property. Council tax for properties, that's only in case that one property sits empty for any period of time. 500 nearly covers the whole year, so we've dropped it to 200.
That would be something realistically that would be useful to have in earmark reserves. So you don't budget for it each year, but
You've got
if
something
we-
there but for
in
any property
case
that-
of, and if
Yeah.
you use it, you top it up. But if you don't use it, you then don't need to budget
Just
for it.
budget for it in future,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Professional fees, that's for the management fees for that property. Bearing in mind everybody's putting their prices up, we don't know if they are, but we added an extra 100 in. The next property, there's nothing to say about. Here, business rates, we put up a bit. Electricity and gas.
And it's Karen Senior.
Electricity and gas, we both increased them by a considerable amount, but hopefully that will be sufficient. Water, again, cleaning works out of the actual cost of the two contracts. That's one for the building and one for the windows, which is not actually a contract, but it's a fixed rate. Repairs and maintenance here. And then cemetery chapels, which you probably know more information.
Yeah, I mean, we've put in that lump at the moment because we're not sure exactly how much it's going to cost, and the main thing is the windows currently that we're thinking about, and any fees that we're needing to pay. So once we've got a quote in or an estimate in for the window repairs, then we can adjust that if need be. So it may come down.
Well, hopefully
Maybe
we'll
not.
go up.
Well, if it goes up, we can't do it. So we'll have a bit more information before we actually set the budget, hopefully.
Electricity, most of the current one is standing charge, but they'll obviously need it to do any works on the cemetery chapels, and also if you're going to, moving forward, you're going to do anything with it, you need it there. So it's not really cost effective to have the supply removed or the meter removed. It's best to keep it going because it's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah.
So, but obviously that's been upped. The next property, we've just added a little bit to that because things go up. We've included the pavilion because hopefully we will get money out of that. And then the other two is fine. You asked about the football club.
Yeah.
The document had been updated. I found it just then when we were talking. So it says here date for agenda 1st of December 22 because the rent review is March 23.
Oh, right.
Is it?
Well, that's what I've got on this document, but I will
I don't
double
know,
check
that's
it.
quite right, to be
Right.
honest. I don't know, I'm just,
Well,
because
if
the
that is,
full
that's
document was on the last lease, because they've only had amendments to it, haven't they, in the last bit of time. And I thought that the date was not, but we'll look at it, we'll find the lease and do it.
And
And the other one as well, we didn't think about that, but the final one as well, theirs is up for review, it's up for renewal, isn't it?
final
Next
one.
year, the other
Probably
last
fine.
one.
Oh yes, I've got that down as 1st of the 3rd, 2023. So they're all dates.
Yeah.
So there's, in 2023, we've got a lot of the properties where it needs.
Because the band tool
reviews.
was reviewed, wasn't it? So that's kind of our benchmark for a small
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
realistically. They pay their own electric and insurance, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's just the pure rent.
So their rent reviews 1st to the 9th, 2023.
So the other two in comparison then are way off, quite frankly, aren't they?
Yeah. And obviously what we were proposing for the Bowls Club, if they were to renew,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're going to be,
Well,
you're
it's
going to have
about-
to look at least at that before
Yeah.
the others.
Well, if you're looking at, in comparison to size to the band hall and things like that, that's kind of
Yeah.
where you pavilion. But then the same as your Holbeach Bank, they're getting a building similar size to the band hall and
The use of the whole.
the use of the whole field. So it should be comparable at least, shouldn't it, really?
Plus there's a contribution to insurance.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
are we going to put in a bigger figure or are we going to just leave it there? Because ultimately,
I
if
think
they don't renew, they don't renew.
No, I mean, you're not going to know about the Holbeach Bank realistically. Football club are going to be there,
Yeah, that'd be
aren't they,
good.
obviously, aren't they? And I think you're going to have to, we'll have to see whether, check the actual lease with the dates and stuff to make sure. But if it is 2023, then if we start thinking about the figure we want now before we start budgeting
Yeah.
and put in a more realistic figure
Yeah.
into our budget.
Yeah.
The pavilion, the bowls club.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they don't want to maintain their grounds though, and they want the parks team to do it,
Mhm.
surely everyone's got to come anyway, isn't it?
Well, they're not going to rent it as a club anymore. So they're not going to have sole use of it because they can't afford any of the options basically.
Yeah.
So what we've said to them is we'll look into taking over the maintenance and then they will book their sessions out that they want as a club. They'll get preferential rate as a club and then the public or other clubs or whatever can also book
Yeah.
Mm.
it out.
So
So
you'd be able to book that's the bowling, that's just the pavilion,
Yeah.
isn't it? So we're going to be renting out the bowling green as one entity and the pavilion as another entity, which you could book both if you wanted to, but there'll be two separate things. So is the income for the bowling green going to go to open spaces or is that going to be classed as properties? What are we going to... Because technically you've got another...
I would say you've got to put it in open spaces, the maintenance
Yeah,
of
maintenance
the
of the
green,
green, yeah.
because you're using the open spaces staff in order to do it.
No, but what about the income from that?
Yeah, I think.
So put that in income for
Offset
Cars
it.
Park to
Yeah.
offset it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that hasn't been considered in their
No.
budget, has it? The income from that.
Oh, it's long. So did you want for 445 and 450, did you want to increase your budget for that?
well, I think if we can look at the dates, certainly for the 445, you look at the actual date that it is up for renewal or review
The
rather.
lease expiry says the 19th of March 2069.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's
it's a
right.
long lease.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's why possibly it's March.
it might be. I don't know.
But I
We'll
honestly
double check
can't-
it.
I can't
If it-
remember off the top of my head.
If it is to be reviewed next year, then it'll need to be agended for our next meeting,
Mhm.
that we agree what our proposal is likely to be, so we can
Mhm.
put it into the budget.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if we can get a whole list of all of the property ones and when they're due for the review,
Yeah, that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
on
we'll just make
on
sure
the
that they're all
drive.
correct.
Would
And
be
then we'll look at
interesting,
it.
did we, I know previously when they were looking at the football club situation, they looked at the rent for one in Spalding in comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it would be worth thinking about that.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you probably want to go as high as what they're charging,
Yeah.
but just to give you a bit of a ballpark, because they're sort of guessing, aren't they?
Okay, so we're happy with the figures that we've put in? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to recommend this to finance. Yep. They said they've already seen it, but we're going to do it officially. So you're proposing, I'll propose. Okay, thank you. Right, and the final item, 050, is to confirm the date and venue on the next PPES meeting. So obviously venue over here. Technically it should be in the week beginning the 24th. So it depends on when people are free. What we got that week, Jan?
Maybe the 24th. You've got open spaces on the
25th.
25th. And that's it at the moment, I think, isn't it?
Got events on it that week.
So I'm off on the afternoon, the 24th.
Right, okay.
Okay.
25th is open spaces, 26th is events. So you've got Thursday the 27th.
Events we're doing at 2, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, because Peter will already be here, won't he?
Mm-hmm.
Whether we go straight after that.
When's that?
On the
27th?
No, on the 26th.
26th. Okay.
So we only need probably about an hour and a half for events, don't we? So, I mean, it's 3:30, 4, any good for you, Steve?
3:30 would be right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can just go straight through.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's out of the way then, doesn't it? Doesn't mess up another day then.
26th of October at 3:30.
Okie dokie.
3:30, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll close the meeting at